Hi everyone, Angie with Angie Home Loans and Nexa Lending. Today is episode 5 of the Real Estate Investor Loan series. But today will be a little bit different. I thought instead of covering another one of the investor loans, today I would give you guys a little bit of background on when I used to invest in real estate way before these investor loans were ever even thought of. Some of the creative ways that we had to work around not having investor loans. So, oh my gosh, I can't even remember the year. 1997-ish. I'm telling on myself here as far as my age goes. But I met my, first husband, and we were both starting out very young, and decided that we were living in Eagle River, Alaska, which is like a little bedroom community of Anchorage. And it was pretty expensive rents and stuff there. So we wanted to move to the valley, which was Wasilla and Palmer. You get, more for your money out there, better rent prices and more property. And it wasn't as citified, it was more country. So we ended up renting a little house out there on a creek. It was awesome, but it was pretty small. And, we were starting a family. So, during the period of time that we lived there, I think it was about a year, we started trying to figure out how we could possibly buy a house. And just started kind of investigating that and found the first time home buyer program with the 3.5% down, but we didn't have anything. We just barely had enough to pay rent and our bills and food and so on and so forth. So, back then there was newspapers. We started just kind of watching the newspapers to see if there were any properties out there that somebody was selling, owner finance or assumables. And one day we stumbled upon a property that had a single wide mobile home on it, on its own lot. It was about 1/3 of an acre, and it had a detached, unfinished shop. The mobile home itself was 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It was smaller than we wanted, but we thought, hey, our payments are going to be, probably, I think it was like $300 a month less than what we were paying as a rental, and it would be our property, and a good way to start. So we got in touch with them. We looked the property over. Turns out we only needed, I think it was like a $2,000 down payment, and then the property itself was $35,000 or $36,000. $2,000 down, and then they would owner finance us. I think it was a 6% interest rate. Anyway, we got into that, and it wasn't in great shape. It was outdated. There wasn't a closet one in the entire place except for a small washer dryer utility closet in the hallway. So, it was going to need some work. So we kind of got into real estate investing, in a sideways kind of way without even knowing what we were doing. But we got in there, and it was right before winter. And that winter, Alaska had a 40 below cold snap. All of our pipes froze up. A couple of them burst. We had a hole that went through the living room floor. We had a leak in the roof. So yeah, it was kind of miserable, but we kept moving forward. We got in there and after the cold snap and replaced all the plumbing, which in a single wide mobile home isn't that much. We used PEX, and I learned inner diameter and outer diameter and how to sweat solder copper, things that I never ever had any interest in learning. But it was just us, and we had to do it. It was us and the kids. So anyway, we re-plumbed it and started, thinking we want to get out of here, we want to get into an actual home. So how do we do this, you know? So we started putting extra money into it as much as we could along the way. And so we built a closet in each one of the bedrooms and painted some of the paneling. We replaced the old carpet. There was a carpet place in town that had remnants, and some of them were big enough. And then the bathroom was kind of teeny tiny, and it had one of those old teeny tiny pink trailer bathtubs, but it butted up to the utility closet in the hallway. So we got to thinking about it, and we started looking for sheds. Hear me out. And we found one. I think it was like 10 by 6 or 6 by 8. I don't know, but it was a well-built shed. And we went and got that and put it on posts, you know, like you do a deck. I don't know what you call those. And set it up as an Arctic entryway against the front door of the trailer. And the long part of it went down next to the kitchen. And so we got that all leveled out and set up and doors, and we made that an Arctic entryway. It had a bench and some coat hooks, put our washer and dryer in there. The kitchen was right behind the walls, so plumbing the washer box was super easy. And then I think we had a chest freezer in there too. But it solved a lot of problems. You know, we weren't messing up our good new carpet in the mobile home with snowy and muddy boots, you know, and we were able to move the washer and dryer, which then allowed us to take out the wall between that old small tub and expand it over and just made it solid with the rest of the hallway, and put a big soaker tub in there with a really cool shower head, and, you know, made the bathroom look really nice. Anyway, then I think we cleaned up the yard. We finished up a few things in the shop, and we spread some new gravel, you know, just got some new gravel and put on the driveway, cleaned up the yard and everything, and decided, okay, we want to sell this and get into a home, but how do we pull our cash out of this? And we didn't even know, like, you know, what's the new value on it? We were just doing the things that needed to be done. Oh, we also insulated and skirted the bottom really well. You know, put a new slanted bitch-a-thane roof on, or lean-to over the roof. Anyway, so we started investigating. Some of the details escape me now, but we found out, I think we got an appraisal, and it turned out that we had purchased it for about $35,000. It was now worth twice that. It was worth about $70,000 just over time, you know, building equity over time and all the stuff that we had put into it. But, you know, unless somebody came along that had $70,000 in cash, how are we going to get our cash out of this? You can't finance a mobile home. So I started investigating. I ended up calling one of the title companies, getting a hold of a lady there, and she was awesome. I still talk to her to this day. She was a great asset for us. But she told me that there is a way to owner finance out to somebody else and do what's called a wraparound second. So what that does is you set up an escrow account at a bank, and their payments, let's just, for instance, because I don't remember, let's say their payments were $700 a month. They would pay their payment to the escrow account, and then the bank would take our portion of that payment that we owed, let's say it was $350, and put it over toward our payment, and then the rest of the funds, the other $350, would go into our personal account. That way, both of the owner finance loans were being paid with that one payment. And I was like, okay, that's great, but it still doesn't solve the problem of, you know, how are we going to pull cash out of here to buy a home to live in?